Hello everyone, my name is Anna Zelenyuk, and today I'm joined by Chris Massella, who is a speech and language pathologist. Chris is part of a very successful team of specialists at the Talk It Up Speech and Learning private practice. His services include staffing, occupational, and speech therapists. And today we will be speaking about early intervention services for children. How are you, Chris?
Great. How are you?
Doing good? I'm
Yes,
happy
well.
to hear that. All right, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
So at what age typically would you say that children start to develop speech and communication abilities?
Well, when you look at the whole development of children from 0 to about 7 months, they go through amazing growth, as everybody knows. They go from vocal play, babbling, cooing, gooing, turning when they hear a noise. From 7 to 12 months is when children start to develop one word. They start to develop some language, and so they would start with their first words. From 18 to 24 months is when children get to 50 words, and they actually start to combine words when they say, up, mommy, more juice, things like that.
Right.
And from 2 to 3 years, they say 2 to 3 words at a time. And from 3, 4 to 5 years old, children's vocabulary explodes at that time. By the age of 5, they know all the grammatical forms, and they keep growing, like questions and statements, things like that.
Right. So what would you say parents have to watch out for, some signs that parents can look for that may indicate that their child possibly has some kind of communication impairment?
Some of the red flags are not having any words by 18 months, where a child won't speak any words, where a child does not gesture, where a child does not follow simple commands, like get your shoes, things like that. Also, if a child has any loss of language, or if a child at one time was saying single words or word combinations, if a child loses that ability or doesn't do it any longer, then that would be a red flag as well.
Okay, so would you say this could be something that happens genetically, or it doesn't necessarily have to run in the family?
I think most of the research that's done currently, some of the scholarly articles I've read, would indicate that as well. For a child who is just language delayed, anecdotally I have heard from parents where they'll be talking about their son and they'll say, well, the dad also was language delayed. But I think when you look at some of the syndromes today, that one of the characteristics of many syndromes is language delay.
Okay. So as far as early intervention, I mean, when you meet with a family that thinks that their child has these types of impairments, and of course I know you do a lot of background information to figure out, what's going on with the child, but how would you say when conducting these types of services, what would you say are the primary goals in order to make sure that the child does get to the needed level of communication and speech?
I think one of the most important things is to meet a child where he or she is at that time, right? And one of the things I hear from parents a lot is they say, well, I just want him to tell me what he wants, or I just want her to show me what she wants. I think one of the most important goals is to help the child be a functional communicator. And again, meet the child where he or she is, meaning if a child has no language at all, then try to create communication opportunities where the child will gesture or develop first words or combine words. So it really depends on where the child is at that time, because most treatment, again, is individualized where the child is and where you want the child to get to.
Right.
Because there are communication milestones that the child should hit, or parents and therapists want to hit.
Okay, so that's how you would say basically early intervention works, right?
One of the ways it does work is that a parent, if concerned about the child, will contact the county, because you can get services through the county or privately.
Okay.
Contact the county, then the county comes out and evaluates a child.
Right.
They evaluate the child in many different areas, whether it's emotional, social, behavior, communication, speech and language, and cognitively. If there's a delay in any one of those areas, then the child will receive therapy. Since we're talking about speech, if the child is delayed in language, then the child would qualify for speech therapy.
Right. And so what would you say are like the main factors needed to be considered in order to make early intervention successful for the child?
I think there has to be a real team environment around the child as well, and that means therapists, all therapists, or just a speech therapist, and the family working together to help the child develop language. And that would mean, again, creating communication opportunities for the
Right.
child. And some of the techniques used in therapy that a good therapist should show to parents is really to go over development and to think about 3 different areas: how language really develops, how children really develop, and that's in 3 areas. Play, their cognition, play, and language skills all develop together.
Right.
So a therapist can use many different techniques to target language, and one is through play.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 ways of doing that would be child-directed play, where the child actually leads the play and the therapist kind of follows
Okay.
the child.
Mm-hmm.
And all along, the therapist can describe what the child is doing and create opportunities for the child to initiate communication.
To get that interaction going.
Yeah, and to be actually on the floor with the child, at eye level with the child.
Right.
Yes. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Continue.
so the therapist should be on the floor playing with the child, creating communication opportunities, and maybe making a mistake in the play or sabotage the environment a little bit, or, for example, close something that the child wants open.
Right. Just to see the reactions that the child
Yes,
has.
and hopefully the child will look at the therapist and say something,
Right.
or gesture that the child wants the container open.
Yeah, so would you say that's like a good hands-on activity that can be done with children that are having these problems to really get in depth about fixing this issue? Fixing the issue of having, communication.
Right, communication is really, a therapist's role is really to push the child in the right direction.
Right.
Really, and having a team environment around the child is the best thing. Again, showing the parents and having the parents do it for a therapist, and working together again to create those opportunities for the child.
Right. So from what I understand, it's very important not only the therapist's role in helping the child, but also the family's role in helping the child.
It is critical because I think the family can really, again, if you have a very good therapist, they can work together, creating those communication opportunities. The other way I meant to mention this was having the clinician, the therapist, direct play, where the clinician actually has the child do what the therapist wants the child to do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, still creating those communication opportunities. I really like combining both of them.
Right.
Maybe you could have a child actually believe he or she is choosing to play with a certain toy, where actually the therapist really wanted the child to have a certain play scheme.
I see. Well, that's wonderful, and I think what you guys are doing is definitely so helpful to so many children. So could you please tell our viewers where they can get more information about early intervention?
Sure. Talkitupspeech.com.
Thank you so much for joining
Thanks.
us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.